Just to introduce myself, my name is Michelle Herbie. I'm a national mathematics consultant with Big Ideas Math. And we created this program specially for Oklahoma. We call it Oklahoma Big Ideas Math for Oklahoma, I think is what we call it. It's just Oklahoma Math, right? I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to have this chance with you guys, and I really appreciate you engaging with me today. So logistics-wise, we have 3 hours. I'm going to give you at least 1 break. You are all adults. You are all professionals. Please take care of your needs, whatever that might be. You only have a few minutes left of summer. I mean, like, this is go time for you guys. I understand that. So whatever you need to take care of, please take care of in our time together. I'm hoping that you find that this is useful. This is not a sit and get time. That's why I kind of had you sit where there were supplies, because we're going to dig in. We're going to really dive into the materials. All right, so when I was thinking about our agenda for our time today, this is kind of the way that I saw it going, starting with launching a chapter. How do I plan a chapter? What's involved? To what does a lesson look like? Where are the lesson components? And then beyond the lesson, how do I differentiate? How do I reach the needs of all my students? And where are those chapter summary activities? And if we get to it, assessments. So if you open up your name tent, you have 3 sections. The idea was I want you to write notes to yourself that your August, September self will want. I just wanted to give you a space to do that. If you have another note-taking way or way that you like to take notes that works better for you, please do so. Whether that's in a notebook, whether that's sticky noting up your TE, which I would highly recommend. That's why I put sticky notes on the table too. I don't think your district has any rules about writing in your TEs, and that's excellent because when we start to dig in, you'll find that we really try to encourage that. So I spoke with Sean. He said he didn't have a problem with it, so you heard from him. Okay. All right. So you have your materials today. You're going to be using the print materials as well as the online experience. Okay. So here is the learning target and success criteria that I came up with for our time. Again, I'm trying to model the things that you'll see in the program that you hopefully will incorporate in your own math lessons. So just take a minute. If you were in my 1st grade, maybe even my 4th grade and 5th grade classes, I might say that we could chorally read the learning target. So let's just do it together. What does the learning target say? Implement the Big Ideas Math program with success. How do you feel about that? Is that a good learning target? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down? Okay. All right. If you could just read the success criteria, I'm not going to ask you to reflect personally on it and tell me your reflection, but I just want you to think about where you're at in it. Maybe you're at a 0. Thumbs down. I don't know a thing about this program. I have not thought about it since May 20th or whatever the last day of school was, and I didn't want to think about it. Yeah. Okay. Anything you would like to add or questions about the learning target and success criteria for our time? Okay. All right, so we're going to revisit this at the end of our time, and I am going to ask you to reflect then. So hopefully you will have made some growth, and you'll feel so good about it. All right, so let's jump in. Let's talk about those chapter planning resources. So you're going to explore the beginning of your chapter, okay? You're going to first do it individually, and then you're going to share with your group, okay? So what I'm going to ask is that each person, and we don't quite have 4 to a group. We've got other groups. It doesn't matter, but you guys are elementary school teachers. You are used to figuring out how to make groups out of, you know, the wrong numbers, right? That's what we do. So, all right, there's going to be 4 sections, because they're kind of like spreads, 2 pages, face to face, that you're going to look at. I want you to be thinking about how these components help you prepare to launch the chapter. All right? Because we're going to first launch a chapter. So it's up to you if you would like to dig into chapter 1 or if there's a favorite chapter that you would like, but I would really encourage you to look in your print materials and just kind of dig into these pages. If you don't have print materials, I can show you where that ebook is, but I promise I'm going to give you time to dig into the digital experience. Don't worry. We're going to go back and forth a lot today. Okay? All right. So these are the first 4 page spreads. If you open up your teacher's edition to chapter 1, chapter 5, you'll see that the first page is this one where it says teaching with learning targets and success criteria. Then the next page has the coherence through the grades. The next page spread has the mathematics of the chapter and the career. And then the last page spread has vocabulary and big ideas of the chapter. Okay? So if you could just number off from 1, 2, 3, and 4 in your group, just make sure that you have each section covered. And we're going to start a timer, and you're going to do some individual looking and then some sharing out in your group. Make sense? So just take a moment and give me a thumbs up when your table has a 1, 2, 3, and 4. Any questions about what we're doing? First individual, then share out. All right. So the first 3 minutes, you're looking on your own. Okay. Any questions? All right. Ready? Go. All right. So now let's have some conversations. Discuss with your partner or your group what stood out to you as a resource to help plan and prepare for the chapter. Let's go ahead and let's share out. Oops. Did I go too fast? I might have. Okay, no, we're okay. All right, so if you were a 1, what could you share for the good of the group? We talked a little bit about materials. What else for the good of the group? What else did you notice? Looking at the pacing, if you look at the end of your volume 2, you have about 150 days, give or take a few, depending on your grade level. In the upper grade levels, it's a little bit higher sometimes, but we tried to give you a number that, at least as a fellow educator, gave me a chance to kind of go, okay, 155 days I can do. I don't know about you, but I've been handed curriculums that were 180 days. And I've been like, are you kidding me? Yeah, put your finger on the key. I found that very helpful myself. I have to have 27 of these. I need only 2 of those. Learning target, success criteria. Right there. You're going to see it over and over and over again. Yep, there you go. Hey, let's keep it real in here. That's the reality. Okay. Look at your pacing. You have a 1-day chapter launch, so we give you a day to launch the chapter. We give you a day for the performance task. A day for chapter games and centers. So we'll talk about what that means for us in the room because we might change that a little bit, right? And then a day for the assessment. So do we have center teachers in here where we do centers on a daily basis or a few days of the week or something like that? Okay, so we want to talk about that. Yeah. If it can be easy, if it can be figured out for me ahead of time, I don't have to come up with everything on myself, right? All right. I think you guys covered it all. All right, then let's look at the number 2 page. And can someone describe that? Because we were having that conversation at this table over here, weren't we? Would you mind sharing a little bit? I know I didn't mean to, but do you mind sharing a little bit, just like what you were talking about? Because we have a table of just kinder teachers, so they don't have a 3rd grade teacher to compare to. In our world, kindergarten is the beginning of time. So you are really starting with just, right now. Right now, this is, your future is based on what you do right now. Yeah. Anything else?
She said chapter.
I think less than 8. Was it 1.8 or, yeah?
Chapter 8. Oh, what? It was chapter 8. Yeah.
Chapter 8. So it'll be in your volume 2 then, probably. Okay.
So what grade is this? Because we don't have, we're flipping through the book trying to find the standard for mathematical practice. What's that?
That's a national.
Okay.
You won't have that in your Oklahoma book.
Okay.
They took those out. Sorry. All right. Anything else? Yeah.
I didn't order them.
Okay. All right. So manipulatives, you are not getting new manipulatives. The answer to that question is no, that was not part of the order. The good news is there is not anything in our manipulative kit that isn't standard, like it isn't typical. So, and for the most part, in fact, just to give an example, you don't have counters. So one of the things that, as a national mathematics consultant, I don't always want to travel with counters because it just weighs things down, especially if I'm going for weeks and weeks. So next week, because I'm going all over the place, I'm going to use cotton balls. Does it matter? No. So please know that there's nothing in our plan that cannot be substituted out for something that works better for you and your students. We do not have anything special. That's why our manipulative kit is actually not even made by us. It's by a separate company that's all they do. So, yeah, and there are online versions of all of the manipulatives, and I'll show you where they are. Yeah, good questions. Now, these are all very important questions we have to get figured out. Did you look at the key on this page? We talked about the key on the previous page. Did you look at the key on this page? So a question was brought up at the back table, is the mathematics of the chapter over there for the student? No, the mathematics of the chapter, which is the next one, is not. But this I've actually used with students before because our students come to us a little bit different. Some of them are very anxious about the learning that they're doing. And I've actually sat with a student and said, do you see this key, how the triangle's preparing and the circle's learning and the star is extending? This is where we are. We are only in a preparing lesson. So I do not expect mastery from you here. So take a deep breath and relax. So even just for you, great, but maybe this is something that you could have a conversation with students that might need to hear that too. And so that you don't have to figure that out. We've tried to provide that information to you. In kindergarten, you're doing a lot of preparing. So, okay. All right, any other questions or anything else for standards and cohesiveness? So just to give you a little background, I'm just going to do another quick commercial. We are a math-only company. Math is all we do. Our program is comprehensive K-12. So we're the only program that partners with Cengage and National Geographic, the only company that partners with them. So this page, this spread, it comes into play. And it's kind of neat, this partnership that you'll see. But you'll see that cohesiveness K-12 in our program. Whether you have it in 12th grade or not, it doesn't matter. But just to know that that backwards plan design that you do every day is what has been done for this math program. If you are a kindergarten through second grade teacher, your wingman, your mathematics of the chapter is Lori Boswell. Lori started this company, or was part of the foundation of this company years ago, starting in calculus. She backwards planned all the way to kindergarten with Ron Larson. So it's pretty cool that she's your wingman because she sees all the way to calculus with your students. And I think that should give you a little bit of confidence to lean into her. She knows what she's talking about. This co-author for 3rd through 5th grade is Nick Lopez. He is a current master teacher in Central California. So he also has a little bit of that day-to-day experience. He's been around the block with you since COVID. He understands the way math has been changing and students have been changing. So just to give you that little bit of background information. Okay, looking at the mathematics of the chapter and the math of this chapter. Our threes, what can you say or share? What did you notice? What resonated with you? Anything?
I like the extension activities for the kids who are not actually in the grade, but teaching them in.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the kids who are super advanced or the kids that are, it gives you lots of good activities for them.
Okay, nice. So extending that learning, sure. Anything else? Yeah.
On the page 1, in the workbook.
Oh, okay, the student page? Yeah.
It talks about the chapter learning target. So again, it's another quick place to see what they're going to be learning that day. And what I really like is the chapter success criteria, where the diamond says we're just touching the surface, but then the green square, we're going to dive in deep. And so we know ahead of time what we're going to be touching, on the surface, but then also what they have to know.
Right, so she's talking about that little square in there in the student edition. So that's a little glimpse into that. So that teacher clarity, right, is right there. And the students know as a whole chapter what's going to be happening.
And when I first opened it up, when we did first grade, I was like, okay, now I got to find videos on careers. But I saw that you had the link for videos there. I don't have to do it. So
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you wherever. We're going to play in just a second. Yep.
that was another plus.
Right. Where are they? So the foundation of our Big Ideas Math for Oklahoma is providing relevance to your students, because even at a very young age, they're asking the question, when am I ever going to use this? So relevance and that partnership with National Geographic starts in kindergarten. We have career explorers and experts that are interviewed in our kindergarten through second grade by our famous puppets, Descartes and Newton. In third through fifth grade, student voices interview them. And then as we go on, the career explorer in middle school tells the story themselves, and then they're connected with Nat Geo explorers, which are not necessarily working in that field. Sometimes it's their hobby. So, but just to see that progression. What about the mathematics of the chapter page? If you could just take a look at it, at the top we have that overview, right? The what we're doing. Then below there's the why you're doing it. And then at the very bottom is the background knowledge that's needed. Whether you're a master teacher or a new teacher, I think someone was mentioning that they have new teachers in the building, right? This could be a great point at which to lean into, either as a team or just as an individual, just to see that refocus. We're implementing a new program. So where does this program start off? Where does this program fit in my years of expertise? Or if I don't have any years of expertise, what's the major work of this chapter, right?
We also liked how it came up with the different additional problem types, and it listed them for you. So if you weren't familiar, like, of course, most of us know add to, what's the difference between add to and put together, and it gives you the examples. And so that was good if you're a new teacher and not understanding the concepts. That will help.
And I'm going to show you where to find that in the online experience if you want to share things like that with parents. How many times do we hear from parents, I don't understand this new math? And you're thinking to yourself, it's still 2 + 2, but okay. So, but if you want to share a video with them on the concept and where to access that. Okay. All right, you guys talked about a lot of those things. Hopefully you lean into that. We're going to revisit some of that and where to find it. So this last section, we're launching the chapter. So we're first getting our feet wet into the resources.
I liked that it provided activities that we could send home with the kids to work on with their parents so that they know what we're working on.
Okay, again, I don't know how to help my kid in math. Please give me a resource. I don't understand this new math. We tried to address that for you in a resource that you can. You do not have to send home. It depends on your clientele, your home lives that you are dealing with. So this could be done in the classroom instead of sent home if you need to. Yeah, what else?
One thing that we noticed was there's a QR code down at the bottom that parents can scan, and they can get the same little tutoring type video.
Yep, you get a little insight to the families about this page from your co-author. So if you have Lori as your co-author, she gives the insight. If Nick is your co-author, he gives the insight to your families. Yeah.
So I noticed, like, it says page 2 is blue, and then the next page says page 3. Where's that other part? Is it in the student workbook, or is that a different location?
So page 2, are you talking about these 2 pages?
Yes, are they in our workbook?
They are in your student workbooks. So those pages are, the first page of the chapter is the vocabulary activity. The second page of the chapter is the, what goes next? Vocabulary, big ideas of the chapter. And the vocabulary cards are then after that. So all of those are in there. So every child has colored vocabulary cards in their student edition, all ready for you to tear out and cut out with them. Or if you have a parent volunteer and you want to do it ahead of time, or however you want to do that. So those colored pictures are just as you would see it in the student edition. And those are being unboxed as we speak. Anything else from this? The activities, if you notice, they all are slightly different. You're not doing the same activity over and over and over. And I'm sure that they redo them, but it's not the same activity the whole year long. So, okay. All right. Well, let's keep moving then. So the idea is that we create this relevance in the chapter from the get-go. That's kind of the foundation of the program. The students have that answer to the question of when am I ever going to use this? So within the teacher's edition, you have that opportunity to have the conversations. I chose my favorite one for the good of the group today. And I also like it because it's fun for our primary teachers to see where they're going. And then you're going to jump in, you're going to look at yours, so don't worry. But this is one of my favorites. So as we begin the chapter, I might say to my 4th graders, think to yourself if you know what a welder does. Look on your student page and read what a welder does. And we might chorally read it out and say welders fuse 2 or more metal parts by applying heat to the metal. While the material cools down, the metal parts bond together. We don't expect, side note teachers, we don't expect you to know what every career is. So the information's there for you. All right, step back into my teacher role, and then I'd say, turn and tell your shoulder partner if you've ever glued 2 metal objects together. I tried to glue my fingers together. That worked. All right. How do you think a welder might use math? Tell your shoulder partner. How might a welder use math? All right, anyone want to share for the group how they thought a welder might use math? 4th graders. I like the fact that you've been using such nice voices with one another. I need a risk taker, though. Someone be my risk taker today? Temperature. Anyone else?
You're using angles to weld. You have to know how you're going to, the metal that you're welding with.
Angles. Yeah. Anything else? Measurement. Fractions. Ooh, good thinking. Pat yourself on the back, 4th graders. Nice thinking. Raise your hand if you know a welder. Is there anyone who has a welder in their family or their community? Okay. All right, good. So again, advanced answers for those that made those connections. Fabulous. All right, so today we're going to hear from a welder. So here's where we have to see if the sound works.
My name is Consuelo Lockhart, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Latinas Welding Guild.
What is a welder?
A welder is a skilled tradesperson who fuses metal together. There's probably about half a dozen most commonly known welding processes or titles. In your everyday world, you might not always know or think about where welding could be, but simple things like chairs, tables, the building you're standing in, that's all been welded together.
Do welders use math?
We use math when it's figuring out angles, when you have to actually assemble something. So let's say we're building a box and we have the 4 sides and the bottom. All the pieces that we're using are gonna be an 1/8 of an inch thick. It's a foot wide and a foot long. We have to make sure that all of our pieces are actually at the right dimension so it creates that 1 foot by 1 foot box. So we have to trim it down by 1/4 of an inch because we have an 1/8 of an inch plate over here and an 1/8 of an inch plate over here, so we have to factor that in. It's important that our box has 90-degree angles on the interior and also from the side.
Okay. Can you see yourself engaging your students with the conversations around a career that they are exposed to? Yeah. Any other thoughts? Anything you'd like to share for the group? Something you'd like to use? I hope so. I hope so, because it's very important to us. So the idea is that our careers are not all college required careers. We kind of go back and forth with those because we also know that not all of our students are interested in going to college. We might want that to be for everyone's option, but it might not be what they choose. So we try to give a good variety of tradespeople as well as those college careers. So that leads us to you going in and finding where those things are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some dig around, play around time. But I am going to ask that you try to stay guided with me, all right? Because I promise we'll get to all the things, all right? When you go to your online experience, if you had success in allocating a course the other day or with me today, if you didn't have success, I can problem solve with you. But you should be able to go to your plan. That's kind of where you're going to live most of this first year of implementation, just because you will have not maybe customized it to your liking. But once everything is customized to your liking and your Clever login, which will look like this, then you might just be the person that skips plan and goes straight to present because you have everything ready to go. Okay? All right. So once you're in there, I'm going to ask that you try to go ahead. I'm going to give you first a little overview. I'll stand over here because I feel like that's kind of maybe the closest spot. I'm just going to give you a little direction here in the overview. This is your planning path or your table of contents. If you think about how when it's highlighted in white, that is the section that opens up to all the titles within that section. So the idea is that in order to find a resource, you will be living here. You don't have to necessarily go anyplace else unless you're talking about data or presentation. Okay? So all of your resources, we called it at point of use. Okay? Up at the top is your class. Going across the top, your dashboard. If you think about your dashboard, it's an overview. It's an umbrella of the whole year, your whole grade, and all of the work that they're doing in there. Next to your dashboard, and mine is grayed out because I have these, you have on and off buttons. This picture is old, literally less than a week old. That's how we're doing updates all the time. That's how, yeah. But they got feedback that present view and student view was too confusing. They just wanted an on and off button. So that's what you have now. So you have a little on button that matches the presenter picture. And you have a little on and off button that matches the little play button for a student view. So that present view is where you will go when you want to present something. And student view is where you want to go if you want to see what it looks like from the student's perspective. Okay? Again, we are doing what today? We're planning today, right? So if you're in planning mode, will it interact with you? No, because you're just planning. If you want it to interact with you, you're going to have to go to a different mode. You're going to have to go to present or student mode. Okay? All right. So as we go, the circle with your initials, that's where you find your grade book. Did it lose your grades? I'm just looking. Oh, are you adding it for the first time?
No, ours is. We have demo accounts.
Yeah, we don't have accounts yet. We're on like a trial.
Right. So did you allocate your course already? No. Okay. All right. Something looked like it wasn't working for you, and I want to fix it if it doesn't. Okay. Underneath your initials is your grade book. And then down here is where there's site tutorials. And if you have a suggestion for us, give us the feedback. This is a brand new program for Oklahoma. So if you're like, hey, listen, this is great, but, okay, then go ahead and let us know. All right. So let's go ahead and live. Let's see. Oh, when you have these tiles, the first one at the top always opens and takes up all the space. So you can't see what's underneath it. If you toggle on that little caret or arrow, top of an arrow, I don't know what you want to call it, point, I don't know. If you close it, then you can see all of the titles in that section. So you can open and close that. All right, we talked about turning on and off. All right, I'm gonna ask you that you live in this chapter, those chapter resources. Just for a few moments with me. I'll make sure everyone can get in, and if there are any issues, we'll problem solve it. But play around, see, can you find your career video if that's something that you want to make sure to use? Go ahead and hit play. Can you find the video that was mentioned in the mathematics of the chapter for Nick's insight or Lori's insight? So if you're living in this chapter world, go for it. Okay, are you guys, and it's not saving? Don't reset your password. Just put in the password that you put in this one. Okay, if not, I'm going to get you a new one. So if you're still having trouble, I'm going to get you a new one. You guys are all set. These guys are the ones that have. Okay, let me get you a different one. Anyone else having trouble?
Yeah, I made a demo class, but when do I click on this?
Click on it and then allocate a course. And it's not saving it? Okay, I'm going to give you a different one. Oh, huh?
Do it again?
You shouldn't have to do it more than once. So that's why if it's not working. Okay. Okay. Dash preview. Dash 1629. Okay. I'll be right there. Try this one. If it doesn't save, okay, go up to save. Go down a little bit. Go to allocate course. Okay, choose your grade. But the problem is this, yeah, go all the way down. Yeah, go find Oklahoma. No, you don't have to do anything with that right now. Go to allocate course at the top. The problem is this may not show up. Say okay. Go back to courses. There you go. Okay. All right. I am coming as soon as I can. Did you, did you get in?
I got mine.
Okay. Yes.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So what is the difference between so there was like two things that I could choose from. It was the Math and You or whatever it was called. And then like the Oklahoma grade too.
Oh, well, Oklahoma is specifically designed with your Oklahoma standards. Math and You is our national program.
Okay.
You're doing the Oklahoma one.
Not the Math and You.
Probably not. You won't find your Oklahoma standards in your TE.
Okay.
And there's been some shifts, like in 4th grade and 1st grade, I know there's some shifts in Oklahoma standards. Yeah. Okay. Is everyone else in? Does anyone else need help getting in? Okay. Yeah.
So I take and I actually use my iPad a lot when I'm teaching. Am I able to do a lot of this from that
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah,
Okay, I just didn't know
absolutely.
if it would still work.
It does. It works just fine with iPads. Yeah, that's the design anyway. So yeah, it is. Yeah. We have students that's all they have. Yeah.
Is there like an app on there with this, or do we still have to access?
I think you're still going to have, I think that, I mean, yes, but your district is not going to let you access it that way. All right. Are you able to find your Insight video? So, yeah, no, find your chapters. So click on a chapter, so go up to the top. Oh, click, yeah, first you have to click on the chapter so that it changes what's there. Close your caret so you can see all the tiles, and she's there. Yeah. All right. I know that some people just got in, so I want to give them a couple more minutes. Yeah. I'll be right there. Yeah.
So when we go here to lesson 1 and we want to teach, let's say I hit the real life video, right? And then, no, that's not what I want.
Well, you're in the lesson, so if you can bear with me for a moment, if you want to, let's start at the chapter just because so click on the,
Okay, let's do big ideas. Then.
Okay.
Okay. Look at the big ideas. I want to show my kids this video, right?
Yeah.
I go here, it's on present, correct? So I hit present.
Yes.
I come over here, and it doesn't show the entire video in the box. How do I make that?
You have to, it's the way that your screen is set up, so just hit Control minus and it should work out. It should.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Sometimes you might have to play with the way it looks on your screen in your classroom. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
These vocabulary cards, do we get cards, or do we have to print everything out
For you
for
personally?
the children?
No, those were the vocabulary cards that we were talking about. Is this your TE? So right here?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, I have.
yeah, so this page is in their student edition. They have those color cards ready to tear out. You just have to cut them up. If you want to make your own set, you'll have to print out your own set.
That could be sent home
Yes.
to learn and study at home.
Yeah, the first day of school. All right, everybody, open your books. We're gonna tear out the first day of school.
Let's see how it worked.
Hey. Fine and gross motor skills, right? Yeah. Okay. Do we need 0 more minutes, 1 more minute to look at those chapter resources? Oh, I set down my remote somewhere. Oh, good, I sent it down. No, I didn't. Oh, I did set it down here. Okay. All right. Lori's insight. Good question. All right, let's come back together. So Lori's insight video and Nick's insight video is the mathematics of the chapter. It's really written to you. If you watch it and you feel like your students would really benefit from it, then absolutely, if you want to. But that student view button is probably defaulted off so that it's not turned on for them. You would have to change that yourself. So, all right. Any questions about what you saw or anything for the good of the group that you were like, oh, that's cool, I can't wait to try that, or, I'm wondering about that? Family letter. Who found the family letter? Did you find it in Spanish? Keep your hand up. Okay, is that something that's important? I don't know if that's a need in this district. Okay. Yeah. From time to time. It's good to have. Okay. Yeah.
Like the assessments and stuff, we have like the pre-test, which I thought was really cool. Is there, you can assign it to your kiddos to use digitally. Is there audio like reading?
At this point, we are having problems with a third-party ReadSpeak. It is very high on our list. We're trying to work that out before school starts. So, yes, that is coming. It's very important for our primary teachers, and we know that.
You're talking about where you can like click and it'll read the question to them?
Yes.
So that's not available, right?
Not at this moment in time. It's very frustrating for us. As much, yeah. Okay, yeah.
For the assessments, are there admin accesses for us?
You can modify them, yes. It'll create a copy and you can modify it, yeah. And we'll talk more about that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. All right, I've kind of already given you this time. So I just want to highlight that Insight video. Okay. I'm not going to play one for you for the good of the group. Did anyone play their Lori's Insight video? Would you guys like to hear what it is? I have like only a snippet of it. Sure. Okay, let's do it because I actually think it's quite useful. I turned it off. Whoops. I hit it, but let's play it. This is from 3rd grade, I think.
Hi, Nick Lopez here with Big Ideas Learning, and I wanted to take the next few minutes to talk to you about some of the big ideas and key concepts that students are going to be exploring in this upcoming chapter. In this chapter, students are conceptually developing their understanding of division.
I think I have
Division
it
is a
turned
new
all the way up.
operation, and so all the vocabulary associated with division will be new to students. You want to provide opportunities for them to interact and work with counters, to be able to create equal groups or equal rows as they're navigating this new mathematical operation. The chapter begins with students taking a look at how to use an array to divide. The context here is that there's 12 counters, and our goal is to put them into 3 equal rows. Question is, how many counters then will be in each row? We have new vocabulary that we want to connect students with, so 12 being the dividend, which is the total number of counters, 3 being the divisor, which is the number of groups in which we're going to place the counters in, and 4 being the quotient, or the number of counters that end up in each row. So asking students where within the visual is 12 represented, where is the 3 represented, and where is the 4 represented, should be underlying conversation throughout the chapter as they're building a connection between this abstract representation and this visual representation of division as an operation. The other thing to keep top of mind is that students then also will lean into using operations that they already know to make connections between division and multiplication. Often students will use the inverse operation to make connections between operations, just like they do with addition and subtraction. We want the same conversations to exist within division and multiplication. The other thing that I would say to keep top of mind is just knowing that there are plenty of opportunities for problem solving, and so having students being able to work in collaborative groups, talking through and making sense of the problem, and then asking students to visually represent the mathematics that's in front of them using some of the visuals that were provided in previous chapters. Thank you for checking in, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next video.
Thoughts? It could be that you turn this on just during your doing the dishes, right? The idea is that you can get the mathematics of the chapter and that background knowledge right at your fingertips in the online experience. So that was the purpose of that, to provide that at ease of use for you. So, and hopefully in your teams, if you have new teachers, this can be very useful, especially as many schools that we have that have guest teachers in the classroom, things like that. That was the thinking behind that. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to, is there a component that you want to tell your August self that you want to make sure to include, that you want to go back and find? So for a moment, I would love for you to think first. What might be that component that you want to make sure to incorporate in launching your chapter? I would love for you to write it on a sticky note, put it in your TE, and then I would love for you to turn and tell a shoulder partner what it is that you did, and then we'll take our break. So think, write it down, tell a partner. All right. Let's take is 5 minutes? I don't know. Let's see. It's 2:11. How about 2:20? 9 minutes? Is that too much time? Is that good? Okay. 2:20, go.
On the family letter, is
Yeah.
it like at the beginning of their chapter?
Yeah.
Tear out
That you will have to print out. That one is not in the student edition. Yeah. These are in the student edition, the big ideas of the chapter, which is kind of an activity that they can go, and that also has a QR code. But this is if you wanted to print it out and send it home to your families, you could. Or have a link to it, you know, in your Google Classroom or whatever LMS you use. Or okay. So if I could ask you to go ahead and put your teacher tools away for a second, you're going to be my third grade students with me. So if you don't mind, we're going to play a little bit. All right. So in front of you third graders, you have, oh, before I start that, let me give you a little setting of the stage. In my third grade classroom, I already have classroom norms set up about what math looks like and sounds like. And in my third grade math classroom, we try to do cooperative strategies where we're working together. So my third graders already know who their math partner is. I don't have to spend time in this lesson going over that. That I did have to factor in at the beginning of the year, putting those norms into place. They know how to use their tools, what that looks like and sounds like, and what that doesn't look like and what that doesn't sound like, right? And these third graders in this lesson have already established the understanding of equal, what an equation is, and they are familiar with an array. Okay, so I just want you to have that background information before we do this lesson. Okay, any questions about setting the stage? Okay, all right, so then I'm going to step back into my role and I'm going to say, all right, third graders, it is time for math. So you are going to use the counters that are on your table with your math partner. Say good afternoon to your math partner. Tell your partner you are glad they're here. All right. You and your math partner today in math are going to count out 15 counters. Side note, I don't know if I have enough for all the partners. I just brought 100 and something with me, so you might have to share. This group has a lot, so maybe you can borrow from them. You're going to count out 15 counters. Give me a thumbs up when you and your partner have 15 counters. First. Thank you. Thank you for following directions the first time. I have one group that's ready. I have two groups that are ready. 3, 4 groups, 5, 6 groups. We have 7 groups ready. Nice job, third graders. All right. Today, you and your math partner are going to put your 15 counters into 3 equal groups. How many groups are you going to put them in? 3. Show me on your fingers. 3. Tell your partner what you know about equal. All right. Once you have done that, when you've put them into how many equal groups? 3. All right. Give me a thumbs up. Questions about what you're doing? Go. You guys are starting before I say go. I know. Or busybodies. Depends on how you look at it, right? I know. All right, I have a team that's ready. I have another team that's ready. I have 3, 4 teams that are ready. 5. This team is advanced. They're fast. 6. All right, if I could have your attention, third graders. Nice job putting them into groups. All right. So the next step is you are going to do 2 things for me. So before you start, listen to the instructions, okay? First, you're going to write an equation to match the groups that you made. So you and your partner, I would like, wait a minute, I didn't say go yet. Okay, first you're going to write an equation. All right, what is an equation? Tell your shoulder partner what an equation has in it. Ooh, I like it. I'm hearing signs. I'm hearing equal signs. Nice job. All right. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to make an array with your counters. So first you're going to write an equation, and second you're going to put your counters into an array. Tell your shoulder partner what you know about an array. Oh, I heard the word columns. Oh, I heard pictures or model. Did you guys say rows? I heard the word rows in this group. All right. Any questions about what you're doing with your partner? Okay, go. All right, raise the roof when your group is done. I got a couple groups that are done. Raise the roof when you're done. I want to see all my third graders raising the roof if they're done. Thank you. Nice job following directions the first time. All right, for the good of the group, let's have a share out of some of the equations that you wrote down. Who can be my first risk taker? Oh, I love it. Thank you for your hand up. What do you have? 15 divided by 3. Give her a thumbs up if that's what you wrote down. Nice job. Okay, what's another one? Who had something different? What do you have?
We have 5 times 3.
5 times 3. Give her a thumbs up if that's what you wrote. Nice job. All right, does someone have a different one? What do you have?
5 plus 5 plus 5.
5 plus 5 plus 5. Give her a thumbs up if that's what you have written down. Nice. Are there any others that we wrote down? 3 times what? Where is it? 3 times 5 equals 15. Give her a thumbs up if that's what you wrote down. Nice. Anything else? All right. So now we have our equation, and you have your array. Give your partner a thumbs up when you have your array. What do you have in your array? Tell your shoulder partner what you have in your array, because some of you might be reading it a little bit differently than the others. So go for it. What do you have? Okay. Yep. See, yours looks different than theirs, right? But it's still how many counters? Yeah. And you only have 3. I know. Yeah. All right. Finishing up your thoughts. Third graders, if I could have your attention back on me. Today in math, we are going to work with an array and use it to model division. Today in math, you are going to work with arrays to model division. Okay, end scene, done. This is the first part of a math lesson. Turn and tell your shoulder partner what you noticed about this activity. All right, anything to share for the good of the group? What are some things that resonated with you? Maybe you noticed them, maybe you questioned them. Maybe it's a shift in how you feel about math. Yeah. 4.1. 4.1, yeah. Anything else? Okay. So interactive. When you say it's not as scary, who can add on to that?
Well, I think it's just when you ask, what do you tell your partner what you notice or whatever, or what you see, and it's like, yeah, there's not.
Was I walking around and looking for mastery during this activity? No. What was I more focused on? Following directions, engaging, right? How are they talking to one another? Was I probably, though, if you were my third grade class, was I probably taking a lot of notes in my brain about what was going on, though? You bet. You do that all the time. You know when you're walking around your classroom where students are at right away. So you could have a clipboard with their names on it, and you can be walking around and go, got it, got it, got it. Oop, going to make that one in a group. Got it, got it, got it. Oop, that one will be part of that group. Okay, right? Already you're able to do that. The first part of the math lesson, the idea is that it's cooperative. It's collaborative. There's research that shows that even at a very young age, when they open up their math books, anxiety levels go up. So each and every lesson should be started without opening up the math book. And that can be a shift for some of us master teachers, because we're so familiar with the math curriculum that we can open up the student edition and start every day. So that I want to draw your attention to, because that is a fundamental shift possibly for your typical style. Okay? It doesn't mean that I'm saying you were teaching incorrectly. It's just that for this curriculum, you need to start in the teacher's edition with an activity that we call an all access point. Who in the third grade classroom could participate in this activity? Everybody. Because I wasn't looking for a right answer. Just because I had a group that did 3 addition sums as their equation, was that correct? Absolutely. I didn't say it had to be a multiplication equation. I didn't say it had to be a division equation. All right? So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of a lesson and kind of the overview of what the lesson looks like now. So we did the first part of the lesson, which is the dig-in. So what I want you to be thinking about as we're going through the lesson is I want you to be thinking about these strategies. Hopefully you'll see them woven throughout. The reason is research shows that those 3 strategies can accelerate learning because, 1, they have a high impact, but 2, they're also within your control. These are the things you can control that can accelerate your students' learning. There's so many things that are outside of your control that affect their learning every day. So let's focus on those things like classroom discussion. Was there classroom discussion in our dig-in? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay. Was there teacher clarity in our dig-in? This is the one that's a little bit. Where was I clear in the dig-in? In the expectations. The directions. At the end, I said today in math, and I actually said it twice for you because I think that's the hardest part to clear, but I'm going to show you where that is. Okay? That learning target and success criteria. So at the end of the dig-in, this is what we're doing, everybody. All right? And then feedback. What kind of feedback was taking place in the dig-in? I was getting it. Absolutely. Walking around, I was getting it. I shared things that I was hearing. I was listening to the conversations. Lori called that out to me in the TE to listen for. Or Nick, actually, because this is the 3rd grade one. What else, though? What was happening in the groups?
We were talking. So if somebody doesn't know what's going on, they can hear it maybe from someone who does, like one of their.
Yeah. How sensitive and wonderful are our students with one another? If you were partnered up with someone that you knew needed help touching each and every one, you already know that about them probably, right? Being sensitive to one another and giving each other feedback, yeah, touch them. Will you line them up for me? You know, that feedback from one another is so important. They learn so much more from each other. I don't know what it is. They say the same things sometimes that I do, but they don't hear it from me. But they hear it from each other.
I like to ask them to teach it to each other sometimes because I can say it 14,000 times, and then when they teach each other, they're like, oh my gosh, why did you just say that in the first place?
And you're like, I did.
Because I'm not 5 years old.
Yeah, it's something in the nuances, right? We call that, there's a cooperative structure called Rally Coach that's set up for that, right? All right, we're going to talk about where do those fit in the lesson. All right, so the first part of the lesson is the dig-in. You're going to find the dig-in in the TE, whether you look at it from the online experience or from your print experience. So go ahead and open up to a lesson. Could I borrow one of your books just to, thank you. All right, so I'm just going to pick the first lesson of this chapter. This is the second volume, okay? So the first part of the lesson is the dig-in, and you find it in the TE. So just take a moment, just make sure you can find a dig-in, okay? The next part of the lesson is called what is that page called? Investigate. That is also a collaboration page, okay? Turn. The next part of the lesson is the key concept, okay? And in-class practice is also in there, some space practice built in. And what is then the last part of the lesson? Connect to real life. Connect to real life. So find a connect to real life page. So there's really, and then you'll see a support for all learners page. Now we're going beyond the lesson, okay? So when we're looking today, I want you to try and not go beyond, just for right now. I promise we're going beyond, but just for right now. Try to live in this lesson world, okay? Because we're going to just kind of live in a lesson. How much time do you have for your math lessons on a daily basis? 40 minutes or so. Okay, so our lessons are designed to be around 45 minutes long. So you might have a little bit of crunch time in there, but maybe we can find it someplace, right? Okay. All right, so those are the components of a lesson. We call it our balanced approach to rigor. Two parts of that lesson at the beginning are conceptual understanding. Student-centered, usually, not always, but manipulative-based, whether it's with bodies or counters or linking cubes or pattern blocks. Then we have our key concept. That's the direct instruction piece. That's when you step in, you talk about procedures, we talk about fluency. Practice is built in there with an in-class practice and reasoning page that goes through difficulty, starting at easiest, going to a little bit harder. And then the connect to real life, that's the application piece. That's the one that we want to make sure not to skip either, right? Because that's where our high stakes assessments start coming in, right? Those are the kinds of questions that we have to get them ready for, get them to answer. Okay, any questions about the lesson design? How does that make you feel? Does that stress you out? Does that feel like, okay, that's not too much? All right, I'm going to encourage you not to skip that dig-in, even though it's not in the student edition. Like I said, it starts in the teacher's edition because that is your all access point. Everyone can access it. Did it take that long? No, I mean, at the beginning of the year, it's going to take longer because you have to be like, no, we talked about that's not what we do in math, right? I mean, we have to do a lot of that because you have to go really slow to go fast. We all know that at the beginning of the year. So I don't like to put time limits on things, but it doesn't take that long. You are not expecting mastery in conceptual understanding, are you? That's not where you're living. So you're not making sure, did everyone put it in the right array? Did everyone have the conversation about having an equal sign? Okay. That investigate piece is also partnered or small group centered around them. Again, using the manipulatives, modeling with mathematics. All right. So you're going to have a scavenger hunt now. Different numbers. So if you were 1, you get to pick a new number this time. Okay? So everyone at your team, we need to have a number 1. So maybe if you were a number 4, you're a number 1, right? You can make it easy like that. All right, you're going to look for how learning targets and success criteria are used throughout the lesson. So again, we're going to kind of try to stay within those lesson pages. So if you get to support for all learners, try to stop. Okay? What supports are offered to you as a teacher through the margins? What supports are offered to make learning accessible to all students, even before I get to the supporting all students page? And then how does the teacher's edition promote classroom discussion? Okay? So, does everyone have a number? Do you need to talk about it? All right, for the first 5 minutes, I'll have you go in and find the answer to your question. Then we'll talk about it. Make sense? All right, go find your answer. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready now. Okay. We have several that are ready now. All right. I'll stop this timer then. Okay. Let's go ahead and start. Let's start with question number 1. How are learning targets and success criteria used throughout the lesson? What did you hear or find? Because hopefully your group talked about it. On the student page? Mm-hmm. And so 1 through 4 is we talked about this, several of you brought up. It is developmentally appropriate. So if you're seeing a 1 through 4, it's because you're in grades 3 through 5. K2 have thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down for their self-assessment. It's also in your teaching. It's the same exact learning target that was in that first page that we looked at. So if you want to post them, you can. I'm going to also show you where they're in the online experience so your students can see it and you can use it. It's not as big and bold as I would like, but you can at least see it. Where else are you seeing the learning target and success criteria? Let's be specific, ladies. How? How is on every page? It's green. There's a color coding. Yes. So find a green box or a green target symbol. If you look at the end of your dig-in, what's at the end of your dig-in? A green target. So there's a statement or a conversation, a discussion point based on the success criteria. Find another green box. What are those called? Talk about it boxes. Do I have any Kagan teachers or cooperative structures teachers? Okay, lean into those talk about it boxes. They're built-in opportunities for cooperative strategies. Some of them will call them out, but we aren't Kagan people, so we'll use things like turn and talk and math talks and things like that. But if you want to put in a round robin, a rally coach, a think, pair, share, a stand up, hand up, pair up, those are your places that they're kind of built in for you. All right. Where else? Anything else? Okay. All right, what about number 2? What supports are offered to you as a teacher? Not totally scripted. I mean, I don't know if you guys have gotten those ones where you say, they say, you say, they say, and I could never keep my mind like in the right spot. I always was looking up and then I was like, crap, I don't know where I am, Right. But yes, that idea of what is happening, what conversations to foster, right? So I don't have highlighters for you, but I have sticky notes for you. So I want you to put a sticky note next to a talk about it box. Lean into those. They are directly related to the learning target and success criteria. Put a sticky note or highlight, because you have that, one of those that you know, okay, this is what I want to look at. All right. What else? I want to think about you as a teacher. It does say what you can say there and script it. But let's dig down a little bit more.
They're green, but there's quick checks, so you can jump to different pieces and say, oh, I need to check. Let's go over this one together.
All right, so look on, if you're in primary, it may be on your in-class practice and reasoning page only. Like if you're in kindergarten or first grade, look for one of your problems or activities to have a green circle around it. Okay? So that is a quick check. So when I come back and I hear from teachers, my kids don't like math, this program doesn't work, they're not engaged. The first question I ask is, are you still doing the dig-in? And mostly I hear, no, I don't have time. And I get it. Time is money. All right? So what I say in response to that is, let's put the dig in back in and see what else we can take out. So the idea is those quick checks are activities or problems that are directly related to the success criteria. So the rest of them you do not have to do. Now, do you want to skip the connect to real life application pieces though? No, because that's where we do our deep thinking. But there is a whole in-class practice and reasoning page. Do you need to do all the problems on that page? No, just do the quick check problems, especially when you find out that there's an assembly or there's a fire drill in the middle of your math lesson. And you're like, great, I was supposed to have a PLC time with my team, and now I don't have my exit slip for it. Use the quick check there. You know it's related to the success criteria. How many times have you gone to try to find an exit slip or a quick check and realized that you chose the wrong activity, that it's actually assessing something different than what you thought, right? I mean, we all have that experience. So we tried to build that in. But there's something else I want you to also look in. When you look at those margins, your co-author calls out some other supports for you. Did anyone else see them? Okay, there's the WIDA, the ELL supports. Look at guiding students learning. Look at Nick's notes in the investigate. What kinds of things are they talking about? Differentiation. What about misconceptions? Does anyone see one where they're talking about some misunderstandings or misconceptions?
Common error.
Common error. Those are meant to support you as well. So again, this might be a shift in your style because you know your program so well, you can just grab a student edition and go. And I want to challenge you to lean into the TE a little bit, at least this first year. Because there's so much there, and it's intentional. And hopefully you'll find it useful. What about supporting students? So this kind of goes together, right? Differentiation supports students. What kind of differentiation do we have in there? English language learner support. That's actually best practice though, isn't it? Because most of our students are not having those academic conversations at home anyway. They need to have that modeled for them every day too. Doesn't matter if English is the first language or a second language.
There's also advanced, like some for kids that are going above, you have different questioning and things.
So in that differentiation, find differentiated instruction, is that what it's called? Yeah, differentiating instruction. So they talk about emerging, proficient, advanced. What else do you have over here that you noticed? You were pointing, oh, I thought you were pointing to something. Okay, last one. What about classroom discussion? Talk about it boxes, yep. The partners, that feedback opportunity, say that again? The little green targets. Yeah, launching the career has got a lot of conversation, classroom discussion prompts in it. What about the color red? The red question marks, right? Those are questions to ask. So again, trying to be thoughtful about things popping out at you, making it easy to see. Okay? All right. Okay. Let's double check. All right, we talked about the dig in. We talked about the talk about it boxes. Did you notice that you have a look back, except Kinder, your beginning of time? You have a look back and a look ahead in your investigate. The idea is that we access that prior knowledge right from the beginning of the lesson. When they're working with students, working with manipulatives. All right, the key concept, guiding student learning, supporting learners at the bottom there. That practice, the differentiating instruction, you guys called that out. I want to point to one other thing. I'm going to have you find it in a moment when you go on the online experience. Anytime you see an example in your lesson, so for every key concept, you'll have at least one example. Okay? And then if you turn the page, oh, don't forget, we've got green targets, right? Success criteria. All right. Then in Connect to Real Life, you have another example summarizing their practice. So you summarize their conceptual understanding when they worked with a partner in the key concept. Then they go practice it. Then you summarize with the Connect to Real Life. Now we're going to go to real life application problems. At the end of Connect to Real Life is the end of the lesson time. So you have a closure activity. Find a closure activity. Read your closure activity. Is it something that you need special supplies for? Okay, I'm hearing mixed things. What are your special supplies that you guys need? Someone said yes. No? Oh, piece of paper, but not really special. They just need some. Okay. So your closure is there for every lesson as well as for your chapter. Again, trying to offer you opportunities to grab those exit slips for data, for PLC meetings. Okay? Try to give you, it's related to that success criteria. So you'll see a closure at the end of the lesson, closure at the end of the chapter. All right, any questions about our lesson time? Do you feel like you have a better understanding of the flow of a lesson? Okay. Any thoughts, wonderings? I just don't want to go on. Okay. All right, so now I want you to go in, and my timer started automatically. I have to fix that. I want you to go in, and I want you to see if you can find a dig in. This is going to be the hardest part in the online experience. We've given them feedback. I'm hoping it will change. But right now, the dig in is a little bit hard to find. So be thinking about where it is in your TE. The online experience is supposed to mirror the TE. Okay? See if you can find a dig in. Go through the lesson components. You'll see that there are some additional pieces in the online experience that are not in your lesson. Okay? Can you present it? And what does it look like in student view? Okay? Questions about what you're doing as you're digging in there and playing around with it? Go. Have you noticed that you can get feedback in your online experience? No? Okay. Let's go. All right. Let's go live. Yes. Okay. Let's go live for a minute and let's play around. I think I got signed out, but it won't take me long. Where's my student? There it is. Okay. Oh, yep. Well, that's student. Wait. Here we go. All right. I'll go into grade. Oh, it didn't show me. It's back. You guys are back here somewhere. Let's try this. Now let's try it. Okay, now you guys are seeing it, right? Yes, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll go into grade 3 just since that's in the middle of the group. When we're in our lessons, a couple of things I want to highlight here. When we're in our lessons, so I choose my lesson, I have to close my caret. This is like your iPhone, if you haven't noticed it. When you go in through your Clever login, you can move your tiles around and customize it the way you want. So if you want that dig in to always show up first, put it up at the top, and then the next few times you log in, it will be there. Yeah, so those, just like your iPhone, those little dots on the side show you that you can move them around because you see that plus sign hovers when you hover over it. So if you are a doc camera person and you don't like the present view, you've got your student PDF right here, so you can download that in the lesson, and you have all the pages for the lesson downloaded in one spot. Okay?
Can we copy and paste those and put those into Google Slides?
Absolutely. The PDFs you can, absolutely.
I tried. I'm hoping that once I go to my big computer that I can save those pictures or the lessons come up to the actual hard drive and then take them and put them in the Google Drive.
Yes.
That's not what I'm doing now.
Yes, I don't know. Yeah. Snipping is probably faster for you. Do you know how to snip? On a Chrome.
Taking a picture of the
Yeah, just it'll let you draw a box around what you want to take a picture of. Okay, so that's a friend thing. That's a friend thing. Yeah, we'll find you a friend that knows how to do that. Okay, a YouTube thing. Okay, so we have our lesson components. Thumbs up, you found the dig in? Was a little bit hard. Anyone needed help to find the dig in? All right, let's go through. So this progress report is where you will see the progress of your students as they work through the online experience within that lesson. Do you remember that I told you that the dashboard was the overview of your whole course? I'm in the progress report, so it won't let me look at it. If I go back to my lesson, I can see my dashboard, and here I can see the work that students have done on recent assignments and their self-assessments. It also gives me the roster for them. Okay? So as I go through, progress through this chapter and this lesson are right here. The warm-up is additional. That's not something that's included in the student book, so you don't need to do it, but as you're looking for additional things. Those instructional resources, usually they're the vocabulary cards right here if you wanted to print them. So the next part of our lesson after the dig in is the investigate. If I were you, the investigate is going to be an open-ended activity, right? It's supposed to be collaborative with other students. I wouldn't start there as far as assigning things and looking for progress reports because a lot of those questions are open-ended. The system can't grade it for you. Some of them they can, but not a lot of them. But as I get into the key concept part of the lesson, that's where you can start thinking about assigning. Now, if you think of the online experience for your students as an online workbook, they have access to all of the parts of the lesson without you assigning it. They can go into it and they can start working on it. All you have to do is tell them what chapter, what lesson to go and start working on. So you don't have to assign it. You can, and then they have to go look in their assignments to do that assignment. So you just have to pick the way that you want to mesh them together. The idea is that they're the same as the student pages. They aren't identical. It isn't the perfect world. But they are the same problems. Okay? Feedback for the way they interact, especially with our primary students, please give it to us because I give them feedback and they keep telling me, I've not heard that from another kindergarten teacher, Michelle. So I'm like, okay, I need my kindergarten teachers to share that this is difficult for them to manipulate. Or this would be better. All right. The key concept I told you that there was an example video. A lot of teachers like to use this for absent students. If they missed the prior day's instruction, their must-do for the day is to go in and watch the video on the previous lesson. Okay? So again, that lesson.
Find the total number of counters in the equal groups.
Talk about difference.
You can use
the other one we couldn't hear, huh? Okay, we won't watch any more of that. But you can see the key concept. And then there's in-class practice to match the student addition. I have present toggle or automatically defaulted on as well as student view on. The system tries to be smart to think about what you would want, but you have control over that. You can turn that off. When I go into present view, so if you do have your interactive whiteboards, when I go into, or I forget what you said that they were called, you have modes that you can go into so that you can get feedback as you do it with your students. So if I want to get feedback and I want it to be interactive, then I can put in numbers in here, and I don't have to put my glasses on to see. I'm just going to put random numbers in here. And it doesn't want me to submit it until I have numbers in all of them. And then I hit submit, and the system gives me feedback. This is considered practice, so I have multiple tries. Okay, anytime you assign practice, it's defaulted. The idea is that students have multiple tries before they're given the correct answer. You will see in the progress report how many tries they did. So you'll actually see, yes, you got 0 out of 5, but you only tried it once. I want you to go back in and give it a different try. Okay? You can, at any point, pull up those learning targets and success criteria. Like I said, I think they are too small to read at this point, but they are there. Your students also have access to them in their student view. Okay? All right. The other lesson component after our key concept was what? Connect to Real Life, that application piece. Again, there's an example in the Connect to Real Life page, so there's a video to match that example in the online experience. Again, the idea is that absent students have access to those resources as well. Okay? At the end of Connect to Real Life was where we found our, at the end of a lesson, closure, right? So see if you can find that closure there. All right, any questions about the lesson components? All right, so let's go beyond the lesson. That's what we're going to do for the rest of the time. So when we talk about support for all learners, open up in your TE or go to your online experience, your support for all learners page. It's after the practice, right? In your TE, it's actually before the practice. If you look in your practice pages, there is additional suggestions for cross-curricular, for extending student learnings, for kinesthetics learning. Especially my primary teachers, will you write down the name mathmusicals.com? It's musicals with an S. Mathmusicals, one word, but with an S at the end, .com. There will be a button to access it soon, but it's not there yet. But you can access it by just going to the website right now. When you talk about norms, the songs there are fantastic. I'm going to play one for you in a minute, but the Fish Cracker song is one that I used in my classroom as a transition. All right? Students knew whenever Fish Crackers came on, it was time to come to the carpet, and one person from the team went and got the math tools from the counter. It was just a routine that we put in place at the beginning of the year. So you will see math musicals called out in our extracurricular, but it's not in every lesson. They try to do kinesthetic, they try to do art, literature, they try to do all those cross-curricular connections. But you'll see that in mathmusicals.com, there's lessons for like every part, every skill that really you're teaching. There are sheet music, a storybook that matches, as well as activities you can print out that are an addition to what's in your student book. So when we talk about extending the lesson, different ways to extend the lesson, that's a great resource. And it will have its own button. Probably, I'm guessing, up by the game library, but I don't know. They don't ever ask me. They just do what they want. But they're usually pretty good at it. So, all right, our practice is here. If we want to assign something, our 3 dots are where we assign it. We click Assign. We name it. Kind of tries to be smart, but you want to make it so that you know, so that you can tell your students. Self-assessment is woven into it, just like in your student pages. You'll see that self-assessment, that feedback part. It's also woven into the online experience. So we've defaulted it on. If you don't want it on, you have that power. Okay. Next, this is where it kind of gets fun. You can assign it to individual students, or you can go in and create groups that you want to assign things to, like Emergent. Excuse me. Or if your students are using the online experience, the program will try to group them based on their ability, based on what they've done. You have the power, though, to move students. So it's either teacher-created or by performance in the online experience. Okay? So you can go in. I don't have any groups for this class, I don't think. So I will choose my individual students. And then I will hit assign. I may be out of my, yep, see, I'm out of my time zone. My class is Eastern time zone, so it's telling me I can't assign it because I'm not in Eastern time zone. When you assign it, there will be a yellow star. So I should have changed my computer time. So I'm sorry I didn't do that ahead of time. But when you assign it, you'll see a little yellow star that will show up right where that pointer is, saying that you assigned it. It's a yellow star with an A in it. Okay? Questions about assigning things? Where will students see it? Isn't that a question? So then where will my students see their assignment? So in their locker is what they're kind of calling this. You have course menu and assignments. It didn't assign, so there are no assignments, but this is the tab that I'm looking at right now. Did you play around with the course resources or in their course menu? They have access to all of the same resources that you do. So if they go to all, they have everything that is turned on for them will show up here. So if you want to turn something off, say you're a 5th grade teacher and you don't want students playing in kindergarten games in the game library, then you have to go turn that off for them. If you don't, it tries to be smart. It's not going to turn on Tier 3 supports for all students. You will have to turn that on for your Tier 3 students. Okay? But your math tools are in here. So they have access to all of their math tools here, K-12. Again, those math tools, if you open them up, that's a static link. That's completely shareable. Have you played with our money? It actually looks real. I'm like very happy about that. Okay? Especially for our littles, right? Okay. All right. So now we're in beyond the lesson. That practice page, did you notice that you have a QR code on that practice page for families? The idea is if you do homework, built-in page right there. It's beyond the lesson anyway. You can send it home. If you don't do homework, that's fine too. Use it during your centers time. Oh, centers. Okay, that leads us to beyond the lesson. Tier 1 supports are where what do we do? What does Tier 1 say? I lost my word. Reinforce. Where we reinforce the learning of the day. So when I'm in lesson 1.1, Tier 1 is part of our core instruction. If I want resources to support the learning of the core program, I find them in Tier 1 supports. That workbook that we talked about that you have, that practice workbook, those are the same activities that are in this Tier 1 support, but your district has given it to you so that you don't have to print them out. You have one for every student. Let me say that again. Tier 1, lesson extra practice, and Oklahoma standards-based practice, you do not have to print out for your students. You have one for every student that they've purchased for you. That is called a practice workbook. I'll show you a picture when we go back to my slideshow. But you'll get it and you'll be like, oh, and in the front, it is lesson-based practice. This lesson extra practice right here. This one's in Spanish, though. It's lesson-based practice. And in the back, it's standards-based practice, that workbook that you'll see in your room. So you have extra practice that's not the same that's in their regular daily workbook, okay? You also have lesson dig deeper activities. You can assign them online or you can print them out. So when we talk about daily centers, that's a great option for you, right? It's shorter, it's a little more open-ended, right? Because you're extending the learning of the lesson. Now let's talk about Tier 2. Tier 2 is where we re-engage with learning that's outside of the day's lesson, but it probably is within your expertise or your course, right? These are skills they need to re-engage with in order to be successful, but you might have been the teacher that taught them those skills. So depending on the lesson, we've tried to do the thinking for you and figure out what skill builders might help them be successful in this lesson. So again, when we think about center time, here's a resource for you that goes beyond the learning of the lesson or behind the learning of the lesson. Okay? So there is a PDF. The idea is that it is designed with that same lesson design, when it loads, with a concept review, an example, an opportunity for them to try it, some practice, and then a quick check. So I envision this in your classrooms with you doing a small group, or you have a group of students that are capable of doing this on their own. After they do the PDF practice page, you have them go to the online experience and do the quick check online. And then you have the data in your progress report, and you don't have to grade it. Okay, so that's re-engaging. So this skill in Chapter 1 has 2 skill builders that go with that lesson. Just depends on the lesson. Now we're talking about Tier 3. We all have students in our rooms that we have to fill in gaps that go outside of our course, that go outside of our expertise. The idea here is we've tried to do, remember, we have those authors that are doing that backwards planning. They've tried to figure out what gaps or holes you might be trying to fill. So again, it depends on the lesson as to whether or not you have 1 or 2 here. There are PDFs. The lesson is broken down even further because it has a concept review. It has an investigate with manipulatives. So I would envision this with you in a small intervention group. Then they get to try it. Then they have to practice it. Then there's a quick check. So same thing. You could be doing all of this with the small group, or you could be doing part of it, and then they could be going back and doing the quick check in the online experience. The caveat here is most of the time our intervention is outside of our expertise. I maybe have taught first grade since the beginning of time. At least that's how it feels to me right now. But I have now to work with students that are doing a kindergarten skill in Tier 3. I'm trying to fill in, and that's not my expertise. So the idea is that we have teaching notes there. Maybe your intervention is done by a warm body you grab from the parking lot. Okay? Giving those teaching notes so that they understand the background information, the what and the why. So you can print those out for them. All right. So within those tier supports, we have our math tools. We've talked a little bit about that. On our second page of our math tools, thumbs up if you found the graphic organizers. Those are also static links. Share it with families. Okay? What about the concepts and tools videos? Did you find those? Go find a concept and tools video. They're by grade level. They are also, even though they're not static links, they are also shareable links. Show it to the students if they've never used the manipulative before. Have your resource teachers use it. Show it to the parent. If a parent looks at you and says, I don't know what a 10 frame is. Oh, that's awesome, amazing. I would love to share this video with you so that now you know what a 10 frame is. So it is a heavy lift to compile these links for your families. I understand that. But it might pay off if someone in your team is willing to do that with some of these. Especially base 10 blocks, those kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that if I wanted to share, add 10 link, I can copy it?
Yep, so this link, I'm going to click on grade 2, and it opens up this Bright Cove. That is a shareable link. You don't have to log in to do that. You can make a QR code out of that. You can put it in an email. I don't know how loud it's going to be, so guard your ears. It's really quiet, let's see.
An array shows equal groups of items in an organized way using
trying.
rows and columns. For instance, this is an array. Here we have 3 groups of 5 peppers.
Turn it down just a little bit. Okay.
Analyze an array, it's important that your student has a firm grasp on the difference between a row and a column. Remember, columns go up and down, and rows run left to right. One point of potential confusion for students is why we say there are 3 groups of 5 peppers instead of 5 groups of 3 peppers. While the commutative property tells us that either is possible, it's easier for developing students to assign one clear meaning to each term. For that reason, rows will always refer to the number of groups and columns will refer to the number in each group.
So great tool. Tell your shoulder partner if there's anything in when we look at the outside or beyond the lesson, what resource do you want to go find if you haven't already found it? Something that's valuable to you and beyond the lesson. Anything? Okay, anything for the good of the group? Anything that stands out to you that you're happy that you're excited that our program will provide beyond the lesson? Online tools, like math tools? Yeah. The games. Oh, we didn't even play with the games. I haven't gotten to that yet. Anything else? All right, here's the picture of your practice workbooks. So you'll have one of these for every student in addition to their student books, which have the same cover that your TEs have. So 4th grade, you'll have a green one. 3rd grade, yours will be orange. And every student will have one. And in it is that lesson extra practice that's in that Tier 1 spot online, and that standards-based practice. And your Oklahoma standards are the standards that we're talking about. Okay? So that's Tier 1. That's part of Tier 1. Dig Deeper is not in that book. You have to print it or sign it online. Tier 2 is printable and assign the quick check. And Tier 3 is printable. Assign a quick check. All right, so write down anything you want your August or September self to know, and then we're going to look quickly at the end of chapter activities, which include the games, the centers. We'll talk a little bit more about how we want to do that, and then I'm going to get you out of here. So anything you want to write down on your sticky note. What's next? All right, we already did that. We did that. We looked at our skill builder, skills foundation. Here's a progress report that's actually working. Mine, I don't have student data in. I did, and then last night it all got deleted, which was awesome, but that's okay. So you'll be able to choose your activity and see the answers that your students put in. You'll be able to toggle, and it will change. I had data to show you that it changed, but then, like I said, last night it disappeared. But that's okay. You just have to trust. So it does try to at least make it a little easy to look at a glance. Okay? Any questions or anything you want to share for the good of the group? Okay. Do you know where to assign something? 3 dots, right? Okay. All right, good. All right, so we've already done that. So now let's talk about the end of chapter activities. We'll talk a little bit about assessments. All right, so you're going to dig into the 4 sections or layouts here, but we're not going to spend as much time. So I want you to look for performance task and chapter game. That's a spread, because in your student edition, in their volume 1, volume 2, on one side of the page is their performance task, and on the back side of the page is the chapter game, because we give it to you paper, pencil, or manipulative as well. Okay? Chapter practice is the next spread. Chapter centers and your thoughts on the page. This is where Sean said you can write in your TE. So, and then connecting big ideas. You will not find a connecting big ideas for every chapter because the idea is you're connecting several chapters. So maybe whoever takes this one, look at chapter 4 or 5, chapter 8, chapter 9, one of those kind of in the middle, and see if you can find a connecting big ideas. Okay? So let's have everybody have a spread or a section. Let's take a couple minutes, 2 minutes to look, 2 minutes to share. Does that sound good? All right, go. All right, just because I want to be respectful of your time. Took us a while, but we found the connecting big ideas in 4th grade, 3rd grade? I forget which grade we were even looking now, but 1st grade. 1st grade. All right, what about that performance task and the game page? Anything you want to share for the good of the group? The idea is that relevance is woven throughout. You'll see it on that Connect to Real Life page. You'll see problems that relate to that career, and then you summarize the chapter and that performance task that's based on that career again. So that welder in grade 4 comes back again at the end of chapter 5. And it's also been in your Connect to Real Life. Just, it's not all the activities. Okay? Anything else? Is that a good show what you know activity? Could that be woven into your centers? Yeah, it's already in their student book. You don't have to print it out. Yeah. Okay. Chapter game. Thoughts about that? So your chapter game is based on the skills that were taught in that chapter. So at the beginning of the year, your chapter 1 game might be hard for your kiddos, depending on the skills. So you might have to do something a little bit different until you get rolling, right? However, there's a little exit slip in there. That's an exit on the chapter. Again, that opportunity to get data built in, as well as having this in both digital and paper. For example, you could teach your emergent students first how to play the game. And then they go back to their team members and they're the star teaching everyone else, which in math maybe is a role they're not usually in. Building that confidence in math. Okay? Those games are shareable links. I think we talked about that. Did I talk about that? When you go in the online experience, when you click on a game, it's a static link. It's completely shareable. So you can make a QR code and just have a center of those games. Or you can post them in Google Classroom or wherever it is that you like to have them, or share them with families. Okay? They have access to all the games K-12. You have to turn them off in their game library. So if you don't want them to have access, you need to do that. Anything else? Questions? The cards you need for the games, the paper cards are in your instructional resources at the end of the chapter, not at the beginning of the chapter. Okay. All right. What about chapter practice? I heard lots of buzzing around chapter practice. Good, bad? What do you like about it? It's organized by lesson too, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Teachers have used the chapter practice test as a pretest. There is not a chapter pretest, but you have a practice test in the online experience. You can use that as a pretest and then give it again. Or just skip the practice test, use the review, and go straight to the test. The test is modifiable. We are wondering why some of us that went in through Clever were not able to edit it, so I asked that question. I haven't looked to see if I have an answer, to be honest with you. But, okay. You can add questions and take away questions. You can search by standard or by question type. And you can change the scoring on those questions, too. If you have like a drag and drop and you want that to be worth 2 points instead of 1. Yeah. All right, what about this page? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you've got some variety. Some variety to choose from, especially if you're a new teacher and you're trying to come up with these things on your own, right? Yeah. Anything else? Okay. All right. Big ideas of the chapter. If you found it, what do you notice about it? Because it's every few chapters. What do you think the purpose of it is? What did you notice? Questions do you have? Again, that relevance, that real life application is built in there. There's something else there too. Do you guys know what the fastest growing industry in the world is right now? Data science. So what are we training even our littles to be able to do? Manipulate statistics. Get used to seeing them. Why are they there? What are we going to do with it? Okay? Could it be a cross-curricular connection as well? Did you notice a lot of them connect with science, social studies? You're going to see with your performance tasks the link to some STEAM videos in there too. Okay. All right. Okay. So the last thing that we have is just questions about assessments. Your assessments are only online. They aren't a printed book. You can just print them from here. There's an alternate assessment that we provide the rubric for. It's shorter. It's more open-ended. So you have a couple of choices before you start modifying. I just encourage you to try it before you start changing it, to just give yourself a little bit of relief at the beginning of the year. You have a lot going on. Try implementing it before you go modifying it. I know that you will have to make modifications because your students are unique. But I just want to also try to make your life a little bit easier too. So, questions about assessments? If you want to see the answers to your assessments, that's what that I is for. Click on the preview and you'll see your answers. Anything else? You have a mid-chapter test. And you have a chapter test. There's a pre-course test, and there's a post-course test. And there's also like a benchmark test. Any other questions about assessments? Okay. All right. We went over that. Assessments, all the different types. You guys already went in there. Is there a chapter, end of chapter resource that you want to write down on your sticky note and put in your computer or put on your TE? Just want to give you a chance. How might you use the end of chapter activities? So think about it, write it, tell a shoulder partner real quick, and then I promise I'm getting you out of here.
We did have a question.
Yeah.
So you said like I don't know what that is. When their student view, maybe here, and their drawer or whatever, how do we take and hide things? So
If you turn it off, it will not show up there.
okay,
So go back to your planning.
okay.
Okay.
Without having to go through like and do this. So I'm assuming that's
So
what that
that's
is?
present.
Okay.
So that's present because that matches that,
Yeah.
and then that one matches that. So you'd have to turn off. At this point in time, there is not an all. It tries to be smart,
Okay.
but it isn't smart. So like the answers are turned on, and
Yeah.
so we've submitted that feedback. That doesn't make any sense why the student answers are turned on. So if you want to submit that in the question mark as a, hey, I would like to have a chapter button, or however you want to.
Yeah, because I feel like
Yeah.
there's no reason for them to have all of the chapters available to them when we're just working with number 1 right now.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've come to the end of our time. So if you wouldn't mind, just like good teaching, I'd like you to reflect on the learning target and success criteria from this morning, or this afternoon. I wanted to say this morning. So now, if I were to ask you to give yourself, and we'll use the intermediate scale, so just remind yourself that learning target, success criteria. Okay, if I was to ask you to reflect, where are you now, and did you go up a level? Do you feel like we accomplished what we set out to do? Look on your name tent. Did you reach your goal? Or did I miss something? Is there anything that I forgot? That question mark. It's additional support. It's kind of tedious, but do it, please. And I promise they listen. Yep, that's it. Yep. All right. So the last part of this is, and I know that Sean has this link for you, but that pink one is your Big Ideas Learning Academy, and that's where you can get tips and tricks and additional videos. And then the Big Ideas Implementation Survey is about my session with you today, and if you give me a 1 or a 2 on that, that's great, but I would really love it if you would tell me why. Because that's what I can learn from, that's how I can get better. But I'm not going to make you do either one of those things right now, because I know Sean has that Academy information for you. If you would like to register for it now, it just takes a moment. There's a bit.ly. You could write that down too if you just want to write down the bit.ly. I really appreciate you guys today.